It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. We're just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That, once again,
is Mike Renner.
Mike, you grew out a full beard very quickly, my friend.
It's what is it, just for men or whatever?
Yeah, right, yeah. Like the Rogaine, but
Rogaine, that's what it is.
You just put it on your chin to see what happened?
Well,
it worked out great.
Full plastic surgery to look like Seth Galino. I'm not actually Seth Galino.
Can I get a Go Packers from you?
No, that's too far.
You're not Mike.
That's too far.
All right,
I can't do that.
All right, everybody. Obviously, this is not Mike Renner. This is Seth Galina. You know him from Friday's show, where he was my partner for trivia, where we got the well-deserved tie, I guess, against the Chat.
Can you say a well-deserved tie? Can you use well-deserved as an adjective for a tie? Is that?
I feel like it was but I'm using it in a glass half full kind of a way because I thought we both did well.
I don't settle for ties.
Okay? You literally did on Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
We're not settling for a tie.
I think we're going to do it Thursday instead of Friday.
This Thursday, we are winning trivia, okay?
Okay. Look, we told the Chat that we're going to come up with a way so there is not a tie this upcoming week. But, Seth, thank you so much for hanging out, coming down from Canada. What's your favorite part about America? Is it downloading the PFF app?
Ladies and gentlemen, download the PFF app at your local app store, assuming it's the Apple store.
Only if you have an Apple device.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually asked Seth if he downloaded the PFF app because he's in Canada, and I don't think he can get it in Canada yet.
Not available.
And then when he got here, and he's like, "Well, I have an Android," so I was like, "All right, well, that's coming too." So we're eventually going to get to all that. But
I've seen the app though, and I can tell you, if you do have an Apple phone or an Apple product, it is very much worth it. So go and download that.
That was good. Ringing endorsement. It was good. It was good. Thank you for that.
I'm good now. I can leave. Right? I got my endorsement.
No, you can get out of here.
I'm getting my check.
You did. You can actually walk out. Chris just gave me the nod behind the scenes, so you're actually good to go. What's up to everybody who's watching the show? Appreciate you guys watching. Shout out to Ryan, our chat champ from yesterday, who we already know is in the chat, wanted us to have a great Tuesday, and Andrew Thomas Tuesdays, and so I believe that Ryan is a Giants fan. We're gonna have a lot of fun on this show, as it is trade deadline day in the NFL. We're gonna be talking about a lot of trade deadline options. Shoot, Seth, we might get some breaking news on this show. Like, somebody might get traded. There's a lot of big pieces that are still out there. There's some trades that have already happened that we want to analyze. We're going to analyze what we saw on Monday Night Football as well, because Lord knows we couldn't not talk about Quinn's Cincinnati Bengals playing on primetime. Although, Quinn, I'll get you in the show right now, my friend. Didn't look great game one without Jamar Chase. I'm not going to lie, buddy.
That's a burn the tape game.
And that's a good way to say it. That's a good way to say it.
It's just total meltdown. I don't know how much Chase even would help if he would have played.
Immensely. It would have
helped immensely, but they still lose that game.
You know, it's like the movie Troy, when Achilles, takes the beach with like 50 men or whatever, and the men just believe they can do whatever because they got Achilles. That's the Bengals and Jamar Chase.
I mean, but honestly,
that's my analogy.
Chase has played so well the last 2 weeks.
No, he has.
It honestly probably would have made a difference. I feel like the Bengals are still. I know they went to the Super Bowl last year, but it just feels like it's always 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. I know that's not the expression, but I made it up right now.
But we know what you meant.
Yeah,
we understood what you meant.
You know what I mean? Like it's like okay, now you're playing all these primetime games because you went to the Super Bowl, because you were a good team last year, because you have all these superstar players, face of the franchise players, and then they go to Cleveland. And I know we're going to talk about it later, but they can't run the ball against the worst run defense in the league. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, we're going to dig into that and some other stats we saw from that game. But, Quinn, can you get us kicked off with a question of the day here on the show? What do you got for us?
I got 2 of them. First.
Ooh. So, are we opening?
No. There's one real one. This one I just came up with off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. What's that one?
How many games have the Bengals lost to the Browns in a row?
Isn't it like 8? It's like 8 of 9.
Yeah,
I think is what they said.
It's either 7 of 8 or 8 of 9, and they've lost 5 straight.
It was 7 or 8 going into the game. I heard that in the pre-game broadcast. So 8 of 9 now, 5 straight.
Yeah, they just don't match up well for whatever reason.
Looks like you got a some Browns merch in the background there.
Put your arms down. You were in a paper bag yesterday. Put your arms down.
I will say that like once every 3 weeks,
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett is the best quarterback in the league.
No.
It's insane.
That's not.
Well, that actually
I'm
has to do with our
rejecting that,
real
actually.
question of the day.
Okay, all right. What's the question of the day? What do we got?
So as it stands, grades haven't locked yet, but Jacoby Brissett's 94.7 adjusted completion rate versus the Bengals would be the highest in a single game so far this season.
Jacoby had a 94.7 adjusted completion percentage?
Yeah.
I adjusted it personally. I was like, I
So
need to prove
who
a
is
point
the
here.
next highest in a game this season?
Oh my God, it's. I want to say like it's probably like PJ Walker last week against a certain team that you like.
Actually, before you guys get too far into this, explain what adjusted completion rate is for.
So adjusted completion
Inquiring
adjusted completion percentage, it drops out of the equation, right? So you're truly adjusting the completion percentage for balls that should have been caught, that were deemed catchable in a situation. So it's basically a better way to give a accuracy stat to the quarterback when you take out things that they can't control. If they put the ball exactly where it was supposed to go, yet it still was not complete because of the wide receiver, because of the offensive player, then like that's not on them. So
Yeah, I think
that's what
spikes
it is.
too are part of it.
Yeah,
taking
like,
away spikes,
yeah, right.
which is
Spikes,
obviously.
throwaways,
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
that's not targeting a receiver.
So it's just a better way to actually account for how accurate a quarterback was in that given day.
Yeah, I'm saying I think it's PJ Walker.
I think I know the answer here, but I don't want to say it at the top of the show because I'm pretty confident in it because I looked it up yesterday.
Oh, we're not revealing this.
No, you can reveal it. Like if you think that you have
No, I don't have the
correct
answer in front of me, so I'm saying it's PJ Walker.
So
I know.
you think it's
so
PJ.
the thing with PJ Walker was I know it was like 6 big time throws, which was the most in the game, and you just watch it and he just like and I know they didn't throw a lot of passes and there were a lot of completions, so it's like I'll say PJ Walker against the Bucks in week 7 or whatever it was.
Okay. A lot of people in the chat are saying Geno from week 1.
It could be a Geno game.
Could be
It
a
really
Geno
could be a
game. TJ saying Mariota. I don't.
Well, but again, like
Mariota doesn't throw a lot of passes, so maybe.
that I would say it's not someone who had like a game where they threw 45 times, right? It's going to be someone who had a game like a Mariota game where he throws 19 times in a game and has a couple drops and the stat line is pretty good.
Who said this? Dang it, I missed. James said the answer is Jacoby Brissett again. What if it was just the two highest grades?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
game?
every 3 weeks, Jacoby Brissett is the best player in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if the top 10 list is just like 4 of them are Jacoby.
Philip says Trevor Lawrence. He said Trevor had that one super high completion game. What game was that? Was that the game they played the Chargers, right, where they blew him out?
I don't remember.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's certainly not.
Zappy. We've got Tommy. Tommy said Bailey Zappy. I don't think it's going to be Zappy. Colby said Derek Carr. I don't think it's going to be Derek Carr. Gustavo said Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
maybe
it could be Cousins. I could see
sneaky
that.
Kirk answer. That could be it. Maybe.
But again, Kirk is an interesting one because there are games when they don't throw the ball like a ton.
Right.
But then there also are the games where they end up throwing.
I have only seen my suggested answer once in the chat yet. So I'm not going to say it. I'm going to leave it to the end of the show because I'm pretty confident in it.
Well, but now I can't. I know it's not PJ Walker.
It might be PJ Walker.
Okay, maybe it's PJ Walker.
Maybe, what do you mean? Why
No,
would it
I'm
be
sticking
PJ
with
Walker?
it. I'm sticking with
Okay,
it. Like, it
you're
was my
sticking with
first
it.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying PJ Walker
Stick
against
with
the Bucks.
your gut.
And honestly, PJ Walker, like, I know it's going to be a small sample size because he only started 2 weeks, but his adjusted completion percentage is probably pretty high over the season, over these 2 weeks.
The
now.
Bucks game, yes.
Yeah.
This past game, no. His regular completion percentage was like 52%.
Oh,
so
okay.
I can't think that the adjusted's going to be that much higher for it. But the Bucks game, I think his completion percentage was 73.
Okay,
So I mean, he could potentially be in the 80s for that.
yeah. That's not even close to what was the Jacoby?
93. 93. Right? It's stupid. It's stupid. All right, so we'll get back to that. We'll get back to the question of the day. You guys can keep thinking about it. See who you think has the second highest adjusted accuracy score in a single game so far this season. That's not happened yet on the show. I have not choked on my own spit yet until this very moment. So I'm glad that you were here for it.
It makes you nervous.
Yeah, dude, I am starstruck right now. This is the Seth Galina. Let's refresh the timeline and talk about a trade on trade deadline day that already happened. The Roquan Smith deal. Roquan Smith, there's a lot of talk about whether or not he was going to still remain on the Chicago Bears this offseason, right before the season started. They couldn't come to a contract extension. He wants to be one of the highest paid linebackers in the NFL, understandably so. He's a very good linebacker. Bears, kind of in a weird spot, right? And they were like, okay, we like you as a player, but do we want to allocate that much of our cap to a linebacker? They weren't really sure. That's why the deal doesn't get done. He ends up ending his hold-in, whatever it was, to get back to the team, play this season. They end up dealing him here. He ends up going to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. Seth, what did you think about this when you saw this deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually they were going to have to. It felt like the hold-in, as you said, just kind of soured relationship there in Chicago. So I'm not surprised that this has transpired. I think they got back a pretty good amount for him. The fact that you don't have to, you're not going to pay him $20 million a year or whatever it ends up being, which I think is probably a little rich for him. Good player, and I'm not saying he's not a good player, but that's probably a little too rich for a linebacker who's not like Fred Warner, right? Like that's where Fred Warner should be, and that's not. They're two completely different players. So getting back a 2nd round pick and not having to pay that is huge for them. Yeah. And then on the Ravens side, it's just like you're just grasping for anything right now.
You're trying to contend.
Yeah. Your linebacker play has been bad. Patrick Queen just hasn't worked out. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. It hasn't worked out. Josh Bynes, the other linebacker, is like just a player, right? Just a player. So I think it kind of works for both sides. Now, the issue is going to be like now the Ravens are going to have to pay that money. Like, do they want to pay that money? Like, you go trade for him. He wants that money. He said he wants that money. Again, I don't think he's worth it. But if he plays okay this year, if he's just any bit of an upgrade over what they had at linebacker, then I think they'll feel comfortable, even though that's a lot of money.
It's a dangerous way to go about team building when you get to these situations where you say, well, if he helps win a Super Bowl, then it's all worth it. And that's true, I think, in a lot of instances. But it's just a dangerous game to play because then all of a sudden, you're the Ravens. You're, as much as you like the guys that you have on your team, you're going to have to be one of, if not both, the Bills and the Chiefs in the playoffs at some point just to get to the Super Bowl. Maybe then you're playing a really damn good Eagles team in the Super Bowl too. So
not the Bucs.
It's no. It's a lot to ask, and so for the Ravens, I like the deal because it does make them better. But it was kind of the same thing like the Christian McCaffrey deal. The San Francisco 49ers got better by trading for Christian McCaffrey. Was it the best use of resources? Probably not, especially for the Ravens knowing that they now have to pay this linebacker for it to be worth it. Can they let him walk and get a comp pick back? Yeah, and I think that goes into the equation, but you trade this guy probably to re-sign him. That's a lot of money that you're going to be giving to a linebacker, I'll say lower valued position on the defense anyways. And with Chicago, if we want to flip sides to that, I really like this deal for Chicago.
Beautiful.
They were not going. Roquan Smith was not going to be on this team next year. He wasn't. And you got a 2nd round pick for a guy who wasn't going to be on the team next year, and you're building a winning window. That's good GMing. I liked how Ryan Poles was able to make something out of this.
I also think that the interesting thing with the Bears and now them trading Roquan Smith and them trading Robert Griffin is just like they've won some games this year. They are not a good team. However, they're 3-5, and like the NFC is bad. So like there really isn't a chance that they make the playoffs this year, even at 3-5.
You saying the Bears?
The Bears.
Oh yeah. No.
But it's like we know they're a bad team. So even though they've won some games and everyone's kind of buzzing because Fields has played better the last couple of weeks, I think Poles just understands that like we aren't even 3 wins good. Like this is really a 1-6, 1-7 team, something like that. So them being like still playing for the future, even though they've won some games, I think is the right way to do it. And getting those picks back, I think it's interesting to think of. We don't think of rental players in the NFL. This is a thing that happens in hockey. It happens in basketball. You're trading for a guy on an expiring contract at the deadline, which just doesn't happen in football. So I'm curious if this is something that obviously we're 6 months away from whether they will or won't re-sign Roquan Smith in the offseason, but it is interesting to think of this maybe being a thing that happens in the NFL, rental players, which is, we don't see. And obviously me and you both big hockey guys, like that is a thing that happens in hockey. There's like 10, 15 rental players a year in hockey.
Right.
Never mind,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's a cool thing for it to happen in football all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think, you know, if it ends up being a rental, again, I think the comp pick formula goes into it.
You get the third round pick back.
It's
so
probably
like
going to be a third round pick.
You go back one round. I think that's not the end of the world.
It's really not the worst for the Ravens. If the Ravens end up signing him long term, all of a sudden, okay, that gets a little bit tricky. You traded for a guy just to sign him. Is it going to be worth it for you in the long run? But heck, if it is a rental and they get a comp pick back, I think that's good.
You got to sign Lamar too. It's a lot of money.
Which is obviously that's a lot of cheddar that you're talking about there. A couple other names that we got on the trade block. Obviously, Bradley Chubb hasn't been traded yet, but he's been a big name that's out there. Nyheim Hines, we've been told, is a guy who could very well be moved. It looks like he's going to be moved. We were joking about the Alvin Kamara situation where it doesn't look like he's going to be moved, but I don't think he was ever going to be moved, right? That was not real.
No, I hope it wasn't real.
I don't think that was real.
The crew here at It's Just Football, I love them because they put the New Orleans Saints helmet behind me.
Oh, they did. That's a nice touch.
As you can see.
It's a nice touch.
I would rather gouge my own eyes out than see Alvin Kamara play in a different color jersey than the black and gold.
Which one would be the worst? Which would be the worst?
Honestly, the Eagles might be the worst. Just because like, the Saints and Eagles have like a weird rivalry. We have played in the playoffs over the past 10 years.
Hold on. If the Eagles were giving you number 5 overall for Alvin Kamara, you wouldn't do it?
No, I wouldn't do it. I'm going down with the ship. Yeah, it's like I
understand that's the emotional speaking, but I'm gonna let you go off.
No, I just like I think the running back for the past 10 years, running back discourse, do they matter?
They're not real people.
Whatever. They're not real people. Right. They're NPC characters.
Yeah, of course.
So but when it comes to your own team, and especially at that position, it really does pull at your heartstrings. Like the guy who gets the rock.
Well, Kamara for sure.
Kamara for sure. It's just like, I don't care if it makes the Saints better for the next 10 years. I like Alvin Kamara so much. He's been so fun to watch since 2017 that I just don't want to see. It makes me nervous.
It is fair. It would be an emotional move. That's for sure.
Problem.
If they could get number 5 overall, you'd be absolutely high not to take that. And I think a lot of people also agree on the other trade part of it. I do want to touch on. Albert Breer reported that the Los Angeles Rams were the team that offered 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns. Now, they don't have a first-round pick this year, but for everybody who's like, oh, when would the first-round picks be in 2030? They have their first-round pick next year. A lot of what they've already done is kind of up after this draft season. So what I imagine happened is they said, we'll give you, Carolina, we'll give you a 2024 first-round pick, and we'll give you a 2026 first-round pick. That's a guess. I'm not reporting anything, but that's my guess there, that we'll give you 2 first-round picks, but it's almost like what we're seeing in the NBA, where they're starting to trade first-round picks that are just so far down the line, it's almost like you're not even really thinking about it. I don't believe that NFL teams are there to think that if we're sitting here in the year 2022, even though it is a first-round pick in 2025, 2026, I'm pretty sure most GMs are like, shit, what's the likelihood that I'm here anyways for that? I'm not going to trade one of my best players in a rebuild for that doesn't help me rebuild the team immediately anyways. So.
I also think with the NBA, it's like you kind of know your roster in the sense that even 2-3 years down the line, you kind of know where
unless you hit the lottery on a player.
And you kind of know where that pick is going to be. And we also know in the NBA, and I say this as a non-NBA guy, but after pick 12, it's even if it's the first round pick, they're not very valuable. So it's okay, but in the NFL, you don't know where you're going to be picking year to year because everything changes so fast in this league, and pick 32 is still a valuable pick, right? Even if it's not top 10, in the 20s and the 10s, it's still a valuable pick. Now, the Brian Burns thing, man, I know that a couple first round picks plus a third round pick and whatever else you would get for Brian Burns. Mm-hmm. I just at some point we have to be he's a good player. He's young. You have to have good players on your team. There's no guarantee that just because you get a bunch of draft picks back that you're going to pick good players. He's young. He's an elite player.
Yep.
Like, so I'm happy that they did not trade him. Like the McCaffrey trade, I think makes sense. That's
I
kind
agree.
of been played
100%,
out, whatever.
100%.
But
And you're getting rid of his contract too, like which goes into it with McCaffrey. You have an ally on this desk. I think I saw a lot of people this morning who were talking about like, hey, like when you get 2 first-round picks for a non-quarterback, like you almost always have to think about taking that deal. And I would agree, but for the Panthers in this situation, I don't agree with that, especially for what it was with the Rams. Even if it was 2024 first-round pick, 2025 first-round pick, that to me, I understand the value that might be there for it, but I think Carolina's in a good spot. I don't think Carolina's the worst team ever. They've got a really nice young core of good defensive players. I think that defense can be competitive very, very quickly, if not already from what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. The problem is with Carolina, quarterback. I'm not kidding.
Have you watched the last 2 weeks?
Sorry, you're right. PJ Walker, forgot. If Carolina ends up with the number 1 overall pick, or let's just say somehow, some way, Carolina ends up with Bryce Young, Carolina is competitive in 2 years. This team will be good in 2 years. The defense is young and talented. All you need is a dynamic threat. You've got DJ Moore. You've got other receivers. Yes, you've got to build the rest of the offense out now that you don't have Christian McCaffrey. But I really do think that this Carolina rebuild can be a lot shorter than people think if they get the right head coach and if they can nail quarterback in this offseason, whatever the option is.
The two easiest things you can do in football is nail head coach and quarterback.
Fair, but that's why I don't think
agree.
They're at a point to where you just go, we've got to sell Brian Burns off. Even for a really good price, I wouldn't have done it.
No, I agree. I think he's too good of a player to just be like, well, how old is he? 25, 24 maybe?
Yeah, I think he's younger than that.
So like,
I think he's 24.
There's just no reason to get rid of him. And I keep going back to the same thing.
24.
You need good players on your team. That's the only way you can win is with good football players.
It's true.
That's how this sport works. So Brian Burns is too good of a football player.
Is that breaking news? Is that breaking news?
Yeah. Can we put a breaking news graphic?
Dun, 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 dun.
PFF Seth says you need good players to win football games.
Please give us some pub. We need a layup. We need a lob. William Jackson also either got released or is about to get released. I saw Jeremy Fowler tweeting that out. William Jackson. It's $40 million deal last year.
1.5 years with the Commanders, so last season and half of this season, and that's it.
Not good, man. Not good. I know they were trying to trade for him, and clearly they're not getting a trade partner if they're going to release him. Especially release him in the middle of the season? Man, and that just shows the disconnect that I think the Commanders had with some of their team building and what they actually wanted to do. Because
it's funny.
Him and Kyle Fuller played different positions.
Well, and the Jackson thing was so funny because they played, back when he was with Cincinnati, the hometown Bengals, played a lot of man coverage. And I think he was, and people took notice, and obviously he was a big name at that time, playing a lot of man. And then you go to Washington, they're not playing a lot of man.
Right.
He's off. Playing zone, playing quarters.
He's off, all
right. and then it's just like the scheme can, is William Jackson this guy that's like scheme proof? No, I think we could have said that 2 years ago before he signed the contract.
Right.
So then it's like, okay, well, let's try and put him in a scheme, and they just don't. They still, after they signed him, don't play a lot of man. They play a lot of quarters. So it's like, just didn't work schematically, and he's just not a guy who can, like I said, scheme proof, who can just go to a different team and just be like, all right, well, either we'll make the scheme around me because I'm so good, or you play a different scheme, don't worry, I have all the skills for it. I got it on my tool belt. And he's just not that type of player.
Yeah, so no trade partner for William Jackson. Obviously, we're still waiting on a couple of different pieces, big names that are out there. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is one, Bradley Chubb is one. We talked about Nyheim Hines a little bit. Elijah Moore, which it doesn't seem like he's moving. Denzel Mims as well. Like there's a lot of different players, and Seth and I are going to continue to dig into a lot of the names that we're hearing could be on the move. Maybe even we get some breaking news on the show that we might get to react to live. So we're going to be talking trade deadline, specific teams, specific players all show long. But did want to get to some stats that matter. It is a PFF show. We are data driven here. And I want to get to stats that matter from Monday Night Football. Not a great showing from the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't want to say like a season-saving win from the Browns, but they needed this one. Like I think that we all went into the season saying, well, the entire Brown season is just what is their record when Watson comes back, and they were basically teetering on the point where, well, it doesn't even matter when Watson comes back because they were going to be so far behind the 8 ball. But now they get the win last night.
Should the Browns start Jacoby Brissett every 3 weeks to play into what I'm saying, where Jacoby Brissett is the best quarterback in the league every 3 weeks. So even though Watson comes back,
but you don't know which one of the 3 weeks it's going to be.
That's the problem.
So then you got to play him. It's like a lottery. You know?
Yeah,
what if the 1 week you didn't play would have been the one where you went up to the counter and you got the ticket to one? You don't know.
So then just keep playing Jacoby Brissett. I think what I'm saying is Jacoby Brissett should be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's what I heard you say. Let's go over to the Bengals side, because I think that the Bengals, the takeaways from that game are a little bit more tangible. Bengals run game.
They're bad.
Was bad last night. That was really bad. You know, we're going to talk about plenty of how much Jamar Chase kind of goes into this, but Joe Mixon, 27 rushing yards on 8 carries, 3.4 yards per carry average, negative EPA per rush. Except the problem was the Browns were giving up the highest EPA per rush in the NFL going into this game.
The Browns have the worst interior, rush defense since dating back to last year, basically. And for the Bengals, who obviously we know they generally aren't a great running team, but for them to not, but every team that plays against the Browns looks like the best rushing team in the league. And now all of a sudden you go in there and you just can't do absolutely anything. And I hate to beat a dead horse here, but schematically it's just bad. It's really bad. I don't really understand what they're doing. I know they didn't run the ball a lot because they got down so early. I think Mixon ended up with 8 carries and Pirine with 1. But I'm watching them and they become a shotgun-based offense just in general. I mean, they already were, but I think they're even more shotgun-based for the last 3 weeks. And they had those 2 wins that were pretty big. Scored a whole bunch of points against bad defenses, but
hey, come on, don't take anything.
But obviously, Jamar Chase went off in those games, just one of the best one-on-one players in the league,
insane.
Maybe the best one-on-one player in the league.
It's insane.
But you're watching this run game, so you want to be a shotgun-based team. So when you go to shotgun, you kind of are limited in a sense of what types of runs you can do when you're under center and the running back is lined up directly behind the quarterback. Now you can go in either direction. You can you usually put a tight end there. You have different types of schemes. You're a little bit more multiple in the gun, especially if you don't have a mobile quarterback. The Eagles are a gun run team, but they have Jalen Hurts running option stuff, so it works. Now the Bengals go into the gun, and you're watching these gun runs from last night, and the safety is coming down and making a play because he's saying, okay, Burrow takes a snap. He puts the ball down into Mixon's gut. He's handing the ball off because they don't have a lot of stuff they do off of that. And he's making the play. And all in 2019, LSU, what were they doing? And the same thing. It's a shotgun run attack. They're adding the RPO element to it.
Yeah, just so there's a little bit of mystery.
So if that same safety came down and was flying downhill because he saw a run, you just pulled it and Burrow was hitting that slant to Chase. And in this case, it was T. Higgins playing that kind of X receiver role without Chase, and it's it was there the whole time. But now that safety is coming down, making the play every single time, and you're like, well, I don't understand why you're not doing this.
Is that a Chase absence thing or a Zach Taylor
That's
thing?
a Zach Taylor thing.
Oh, okay.
Because from day one, they just haven't run the RPOs that I think work. And they kind of got into it a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but generally just don't run that stuff. And it's you have to you cannot just hand the ball off in the NFL. You cannot be, not just hand the ball off.
Tam disagrees. You can. You'll be bad.
I'm excited to talk to you about Tampa Bay
this week. You can't do it.
Week.
I'm not. I've never been less excited.
But you can't just be like, hey, when we do this, it's a handoff. When we do that, it's a handoff. It's
got to be
when we show this, it's a handoff. But you got to have some sort of subterfuge.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's the best word that's been used on this set yet.
Some sort of subterfuge or deception, and they don't do any of that.
I think Mike is a big words guy. But that's
a cool compliment.
But I think you got him beat right there with subterfuge.
Subterfuge.
Great usage. That's fantastic.
So that's my Bengals issue. It's and the thing is I understand that, and they pay a lot of money for an entirely new O-line basically.
Yeah.
Has not worked out, and I understand that.
Yeah, it hasn't been as good as they wanted it to be.
It hasn't been as good as they want it to be, and then you're not helping it in any way because I go back to the same thing. That safety who's coming down is not accounted for. In the run count, he's not accounted for. You know how you account for him? You read him. Just like you read a defensive end on an option play, you read him on an RPO.
Right.
They don't do that, and they look horrible. Like we just saw the stats. It's horrible.
No, that was good. I mean, that's a great breakdown of exactly why the stats are what they are. So that's you're right. That's a good spot right there. And you know what? I'm looking at the rest of this game, and I'm looking at some numbers from it. Bengals' third down was another thing that really jumped out to me. They had 10 third downs in this game, 4 for 10, 40% on it. But I noticed that only 2 of these third down attempts were third and less than 5. So they were in a non-advantageous situation all night long because of what they were not able to do on first and second down. And then that ultimately led to a lot of third down and offensive series failures because they couldn't get in favorable situations there. Does that still kind of go into what you were saying, like just being able to execute a little bit more, get a little bit more yards on first and second down?
Yeah, I mean, you see it right there. Like, if you're not getting into third and less than 5, you're not. Even third and 4 is not a guarantee, right?
Yeah, you got to get shorter.
You got to be able to convert earlier in the series, and you watch their passing game. And I know that we talk about all the too high stuff, and like, how do you be too high? Well, you can throw underneath in the middle. That's softer now. And I know that Burrow has that in him to be able to do it. And I just see him throw flat routes to running backs all the time. And I wonder if it's both a Burrow thing. I mean, it is. It's both a Burrow thing and a Zach Taylor thing when they just can't create concepts that get open over the middle of the field. And it's like, well, you're not going to win a lot of games throwing flat routes to Samaje Perine on slant flat, like the whole game. Like, it's baffling. And that's why they're 4-4 now, I think.
Yes. Are they? 4?
Yeah, I think they were 4-3 before the game.
4-4, yeah.
They're 4-4. Okay, thank you.
So it's just like,
appreciate it.
You can't rely on Jamar Chase being there and catching a hitch like he did against the Saints and breaking 2 tackles and running by Tyrann Mathieu and going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You still have good players. Tyler Boyd's a really good player.
Yeah.
T. Higgins is a really good player. Won me my
right.
fantasy game last night with that touchdown.
Yeah, I bet he's won a lot of fantasy games so far this year.
So, they're too good. And, the offensive line, I think we all thought was going to be better, but it's not the worst offensive line in the league.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be better, though. That is still an area of concern for them, unfortunately. But I think without Jamar Chase, like you say, you need your good players. You can't invest that much into a player, both with picks and with offensive emphasis, all of a sudden that guy, and a unique talent as well, right? That's another thing. It's not like you could just go, oh, the Bengals have other good wide receivers. You just plug them in. They don't do what Chase does. Yeah. Like, Chase is a monster at get him the ball. Somehow he turns a 12-yard gain into a 50-yard gain. Like, just that is a unique skill set that is really difficult to replace no matter what you're looking at.
But then I'm like, okay, but Burrow's good enough. Like, Burrow should be good enough to withstand the loss of Jamar Chase.
But you got to be able to implement some of what you said, different strategies, being able to make the game a little bit easier. They definitely need to. Zach Taylor, come on. We need to make it a little bit easier here. We got a lot of trade deadline stuff that we still want to get to for this show, but it is a Tuesday, which means we've got to get to our dogs of the week. First one was Seth here, so I'm excited about it.
Dog. He gets after it. He's a dog. Dog. He scored 5 touchdowns. Dog. He's a dog. He's a dog. He is a dog. Absolutely.
All right, Seth. This is one of our favorite segments that we have here on the show. What?
I'm boycotting the segment.
Why?
Because the video you go.
Which part?
Because you do this compilation intro.
First of all, don't you me. Don't you.
And most of it, half of it is Mike Evans pushing Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, that's what dog of the week's about.
So I'm boycotting
it.
What
dog of the week's about.
The dog in that relationship is Marshawn Lattimore.
It should have been Mike Evans blindsiding Marshawn Lattimore on the sideline. We should have put that one in there. It should have been the fist fight that they had earlier this year.
Yeah. We're going to recreate the fist fight on the Friday episode.
Yeah, we are. We are. So that's a good teaser. You guys stick around for that. All right, chat. Let us know who your dog of the week is as we give our 3 players each here. We know you guys love to do that. Give some shout-outs. I'll be referencing whoever you guys shout out as we kind of get through this segment. Seth, what is your first dog of the week this week?
I'm going with the hometown team.
Okay.
Sorry, not the hometown Bengals.
Yeah,
my hometown.
Right. Oh, okay. What was it gonna?
New Orleans Saints. Cesar Ruiz, 82.2 pass block grade. And I think 0 pressures allowed this week.
Wow.
He has, I think, 5 games now with 0 pressures allowed.
Wow.
as you see, only 5 pressures allowed in 2022.
He's turning a corner.
Well, this is the thing. It's more of like, because this is my first week on the show, like I wanted to give a shout out to him to Ruiz, who has really horrible first 2 years in the league. Just a bad player.
It wasn't great.
And I think that there's been a lot of studies done on interior offensive linemen turning the corner in year 3.
What do you mean, like by NASA? What do you mean studies?
Yeah, by
done?
NASA.
Like what,
by NASA.
Scientists?
Yeah, scientists.
Okay. We've been studying Cesar
The
Ruiz.
government has spent a lot of money on research grants.
That's where the NASA budget went.
Specifically studying
for
Cesar
Ruiz.
And so the third year interior offensive linemen do turn the corner, and Ruiz, but it's funny because like when you watch it, you're like, it'll never happen with this guy. It's bad. It's so bad. And man, congrats to him, because he has been a really, really good player for the Saints. And it kind of sucks because I think, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like you drafted him still in the window for the Saints. 2020 draft.
Yeah,
starts right away in
saying.
Breeze's last year, and you needed him to play his first 2 years.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, we don't know where the Saints are. Of course, they do have the best quarterback in the league again, in Andy Dalton.
Of course, yeah.
So maybe they are still in the window. But yeah, Cesar Ruiz, he's been awesome this year.
Look, I love the shout out. I love the shout out on a player who I think you're right. A lot of the narrative around Cesar Ruiz is just like he's always going to be bad, but pointing him out, saying that he's been able to turn around a little bit, play a little better. That is fantastic. My first dog of the week. Chat's already been shouting him out, and obviously so. It is Eagles wide receiver, A.J. Brown. I mean, it's a layup dog of the week, but it absolutely has to be. 91.7 receiving grade this week, thanks to 6 catches, 156 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He had a near perfect quarterback rating when targeted, 143.8 QB rating.
How is that not a perfect?
I don't know. I don't know how it wasn't
perfect,
but I don't do the math on that one. The threat percentage, which goes into wide receiver usage, how much he was targeted per route that he ran, 35.7%. Wild. If you watch the very first touchdown, that first touchdown right there that you guys are seeing on the screen, that was as dog as it gets. That was Jalen Hurts going, I'm throwing this ball up 500 and let my guy go up and get it. He absolutely did that. And then the other 2 touchdowns were just beautiful. Front corner of the end zone fade balls that just went right into the breadbasket. Takes the hit on the second one, and there's no doubt about it that he was going to hold on to it. We're talking trades all day today. Brother, how good was that A.J. Brown trade?
It's crazy just because it's worked out exactly how...
Exactly.
In the perfect way it could have worked out, it's worked out. Just having this like one-on-one player who you can just throw the ball up to. And I think the one touchdown he scored on the fade where against kind of 2 guys.
It was the same exact play both times.
And the 2 guys like fell, so he was still standing with the ball, and the 2 guys fell, and he kind of looked at them and pointed at them.
Yeah. My only thought after that third touchdown was, how did the Titans let this guy go? I know that there are things that go on with negotiations and behind the scenes that don't make it as much as 1-1. You let this guy go, now he's good. There's more that goes into it. But Tennessee needed to figure it out with this player.
The first place Titans? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
the 5-2
still. They needed to figure it out with him, man. It was reported that A.J. Brown wanted to stay with Tennessee. Now, I don't know if he was just putting that out because obviously he doesn't want to seem like the bad guy in that situation. But whatever A.J. Brown wanted, he's worth it. Look at what he's doing in Philadelphia. This is what the Tennessee Titans wanted to be able to have in their passing game. He was so important for them and their identity. I just cannot believe that the Titans let him get away. Unbelievable job by Howie Roseman to get him in there. Taking a shout out at some dogs of the week in the chat. Zone Read Network says Tony Pollard, big dog of the week.
Zone Read Network. That's my kind of network right there. Yeah. Love a good zone read.
Could be your burner. GJ says Deontay Foreman.
I'm tweeting from my pocket. I'm texting in the chat from my pocket. You can't see it. Like that scene in the Departed.
Yes. You're that talented.
I'm that talented.
You're that skilled. Walt agrees with me, said we got to give A.J. Brown a dog of the week. Adam said Christian McCaffrey. Neither of us have Christian McCaffrey on our list, so I want to make sure to give him a shout out. Receiving touchdown, passing touchdown, and rushing touchdown.
The David Patton.
I believe it's David Patone.
David Patone, yes.
But yes. All right, who's your next dog of the week?
Miles Garrett last night.
Oh.
8 pressures.
Animal. He got up to 8?
8 pressures. They had a sack. This is less about Myles Garrett and more about the ineptitude of the Bengals, but they had a sack on a screen pass last night. Like, that's not good. That's really bad. But yeah, Myles Garrett, unblockable. You can see the stats there: 8 pressures, 1.5 sacks, 91.9 pass rush grade, just totally unblockable. I will say that this has been, I not to go back to the Bengals again. We're trying to hype up Myles Garrett, but like both tackles have been really bad for the Bengals, and that's been
hasn't been great. Damn, Jonah getting worked.
Like, look at that. That's not good.
To be fair, Myles Garrett, I believe
is good. Is a good player. Is that what you're gonna say?
I think he was born on a different planet.
Bengals quarterback.
I think he was born on a different planet. Actually, now that I'm, yeah, actually in my ear, Quinn is letting me know. Yeah, he was. He was born on a different planet. So I mean, like, this is actually an alien that's playing as a pass rusher for the Cleveland Browns. But holy cow,
alien of the week.
You got an alien of the week. Yeah. Who is your extraterrestrial player of the week? I'll stick with pass rusher for my next guy. I've seen his name in the chat a couple of times for a dog of the week. It is Darius Smith, the pass rusher for the Minnesota Vikings. Talk about guys that was able to change locations this past offseason and really has been putting it on. He had a 78.0 pass rush grade this past game, and you may go like, okay, this is pretty good, but a dog of the week? 3 sacks, 4 pressures, 7.5 sacks in the season, 33 pressures on the year as well. So it's kind of a culmination of this dude has been fantastic for the Vikings. And I watched all 3 of those sacks from Darius Smith. 2 of them, man, mean inside moves. They were him playing from an inside alignment where he was able to cross the face of an interior guy that just was not quick enough to handle him. And that is something that stood out to me. That's a guy who's completely versatile for your defensive line, somebody who can attack the quarterback from the outside but also on the inside. That is a dog mentality. Doesn't matter where he's lined up, doesn't matter who he's going up against. Darius Smith has had such great success already so far halfway through the year.
One of the best free agents. I mean, all of a sudden, the Packers can't play defense. Not that they were great last year on defense, but they can't play defense this year. The Vikings are playing good ball, 6-1, 7-1, whatever they are now. Like, yeah, that's been one of the best. I mean, you've hit on probably 2 of the top 5 best moves this offseason already with AJ Brown and Zay Smith. So like,
and that's how I've made it to this point in my career. I don't take risks, and I just pick the obvious guys. Talk real loud like Plankton and SpongeBob. That's just how it goes. It's my career up to this point. We've got Justin Houston shout out. Elliot wanted to give Justin Houston some love. Nathan said Uchenna Nwosu wants to give him some love there. Philip brought up Scary Terry. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to Scary Terry.
Victor said DK Metcalf playing through injury and producing.
Did you see? Did anyone in the chat see, or did you see the DK Metcalf fake route?
It's amazing.
That led to the Kenny Walker touchdown.
It's truly amazing.
Really an Oscar-worthy performance by DK Metcalf to fake the DB out. That's what dreams are made of, I think.
It really
in terms of like playing wide receiver.
Romeo Dobbs, dog of the week.
I was there. I saw it.
You were there. Saw it in person.
Yeah.
Didn't get the win, but got a dog of the week. All right, who's your last one?
Off the board.
Off the board?
Yeah, he doesn't play in the NFL.
Oh,
no.
Okay. I was like, all right. Are you gonna like shout out somebody who like someone who brought you food
for
this
the
week, or
defensive lineman for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
Oh, jeez.
No, Ben Jones, center, Tennessee Titans, and 80.8 run block grade.
There you go.
But just wanted to point out that the Titans ran for 314 yards, 10 explosive runs.
Damn.
Ben Jones leading the way. I know it was against the Texans, but you still got to give some love sometime. When a team runs for that many yards, you got to give some love. Ben Jones, dog of the week, and they were just like manhandling the Texans front. The Texans were trying to get into all sorts of stunts, and it just wasn't working. And shout out the Titans, who, man, it's almost like impossible for me to believe that at this point in the season, after the AJ Brown trade, that they're 5-2.
They would have been still good.
First in the division. They're going to win the division again.
They are going to win the division again. You're right.
So, yeah, shout out to this run game. Tough matchup this week. I know we'll talk about it later in the week against the Chiefs, but, like, wow. 314 rushing yards and 22.
What did Henry have? Like 214? 219?
Yeah. And, like,
32 carries with an absolute animal.
They threw the ball, like, 9 times the whole game.
He's a moose, dude.
Like, they didn't even need to. So, the funny thing... we don't have to get into it too much, but the funny thing is you put Malik Willis in the game and you're thinking, oh, here comes all the quarterback run stuff. Here it comes.
Right.
They put Malik Willis. They had the lowest shotgun rate in the league this week.
Of course.
Even with Malik Willis there, they're like, hey, you know what? All you have to do is hand the ball off.
Pound the rock, baby.
Pound the rock. You don't even have to read anyone.
No
don't
need.
have to read anyone.
No reading required.
314 yards later.
The only thing you need to read is the NFL Wilson words that you see on the ball as you're handing it off to Derrick Henry, and then you can just see the name Henry as he continues to run down
just
the field.
read nameplates.
Yeah, right. That's
but the backup running back had like 80 yards too on
Yeah.
2 carries, whatever.
Yeah, so it was a pretty easy day for Malik Willis, obviously, when you got somebody to hand the ball off to, like Derrick Henry. My last one, you guys mentioned it, Scary Terry. I got to talk about Terry McLaurin. Returning home, the Indianapolis kid, Mr. Football in the state of Indiana in high school, won 2 state championships while
I
at
thought
Lucas
Anthony
Oil.
Tresh was Mr. Football in the state of
Well, a
Indiana.
different year.
Oh, different year.
When Terry was gone, when he went to Ohio State, that next year Anthony Tresh won it as a All-American, both sides of the ball. Actually, all 3 sides.
He kicked too.
He kicked. Yeah, he did kick too. So Terry McLaurin this past weekend for the Washington Commanders, 82.7 receiving grade, 6 catches, 113 yards. He had 3 catches and 71 yards in the 4th quarter alone. That is a dog of the week, baby, especially that last big catch from Taylor Heineke.
And this is why he's like literally this is such a good description of a dog, because it's like this guy is not the biggest receiver.
That's a dog
but he
catch.
does that.
That's a dog catch.
He's like one of the best contested catch receivers in the league.
You know who else does that? Jahan Dotson. So
They're good.
they've got these 2
Yeah.
smaller wide receivers who are just like monsters at the catch point.
And I feel like Heineke's not a great quarterback, I understand that. But he like fits what these receivers want, which is a guy who's gonna like run outside the pocket and just throw them the ball up in the air and let them go make plays. So obviously like eventually they're gonna have to go get a quarterback, but like it's gonna be fun. It'll at least be fun to watch.
No, Taylor Heineke, come on.
It'll at least be fun to watch those receivers go up and make plays, even if they end up losing a bunch of games.
Wait,
this
they
year.
got Sam Howell.
They have Sam Howell. They do have Sam Howell. Are you on the Sam Howell?
No,
train?
I thought that's all you were gonna say. You were just gonna be like, they do have Sam Howell.
I'm making a statement.
All right, that's all right. They do.
The Washington Commanders
have Sam Howell.
Have a player on their roster named Samuel Howell. That is a correct statement.
I don't know if his full name's actual Samuel. It might just be Sam. That's an assumption.
Hold on. The people just do that. People just like on official birth certificates just go Sam.
You can just write Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you don't need to be Samuel anymore.
Right.
It's not
it doesn't have to be more fancy.
Yeah.
You just picked a year with a war.
Yeah.
That's what you went to. You went with 1812.
1812. Canadian American War of 1812. Is that a thing?
No.
We're gonna look it up. There was a Canadian. Hold on. Let me sit upright for this one.
I'm gonna let you. I'll let you look up history as we kind of usher in our final segment of the day, which is centered around the trade deadline.
War of 1812.
No, that's why I said that you picked a year with a war, but it wasn't Canadian.
Yeah, the War of 1812 was fought by the United States of America and its indigenous allies against the United Kingdom and its allies of British North America, which is British North America is Canada.
Okay, all right.
And we're still, and to this day.
That's why we've got this buffer zone right here.
Fighting the war.
1812 right here. Let's talk about some players that could be moved today. We're going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks, New York Giants, New York Jets, and Dallas Cowboys. What moves we would like to see these 5 teams make, because they have been rumored to be some teams that could be hot on the trade deadline trail, be really aggressive to go out and get these players. Seth, I'm going to start with you. When you look at the Minnesota Vikings, this is a team that's already won 6 games. They already feel like they're in the driver's seat. What can allow them to maybe take this to the next level and say, hey, maybe not just the division here, maybe we could contend with the very best in this conference? What move do you want to see them make here at the trade deadline?
Alberto.
Oh, yeah. Irv Smith's out.
Irv Smith is out.
Yep.
Alberto is just not getting any looks in this Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson offense.
Shame.
They're going to like Greg Dulcich. They're going to like the other Sauron, whatever his name is. Sauron. I got the first 3
Sauber
letters
was
right.
close. Yeah. I don't even know if you did, actually.
So, yeah, I think that is a huge – so you just look at like the Vikings do not throw the ball that much to their tight ends. Alberto, we saw him last year. You can see there, 7.3 yards per catch by tight ends this year. That's not good. they need to get something out of their tight ends, and especially if Irv Smith is down, like I think this is a really easy fit for them. And he's on a trade block. Like there's no reason for the Broncos to hold on to this guy and get like a 4th or 5th or 6th round pick for him. So that's my Vikings trade.
All right, you can see it in the chat. Whoever's running the main channel asked you guys who you want to see moved or some players that you would like to see your team acquire, whatever. Just if you have any trade deadline thoughts, we would love to see them. We'll read them when we kind of get done with this segment here. I got Jerry Jeudy for the Vikings. I'd like to see Jerry Jeudy because I think that's a highly impactful one, right? Adam Thielen, notably not getting any younger. I still think that he's good. I still think he could produce, but Jerry Jeudy I think would be not only a welcomed addition this year for that receiving core, something that could take them to the next level. He has that unique skill set of how good he is as a route runner, and man, over the next handful of years, if you get Justin Jefferson and Jerry Jeudy, like that is a tough ask on any cornerback duo in the NFL, just because of how good those guys are as route runners. You look at since week 4, it was a slow start to the year, and ultimately I think that might be why Jerry Jeudy stays with the Broncos, but see those stats there: 23 receptions, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, 20.8 threat wide receiver usage rate. Those are all the best on the Broncos that we have had since week 4. So Jerry Jeudy clearly producing at a pretty high level for him. It makes me think maybe they're not as inclined to move on from him as they were earlier in the year. But if they are, I think the Vikings could be a really good spot for him, given the fact that they would set up a really good wide receiver duo for the next handful of years.
I think I'm just worried about Jeudy. Now, like you said, last 4 games or since week 4 been really good. I'm nervous about him. Like he just hasn't broken out in the way that I think a lot. He's first round pick, right?
Yeah, man.
So for him to be on the trade block, it's a little. It makes me a little nervous, and it ends up being
so good.
And it just ends up being one of those things where we just keep. He might be a case of because he was a first round pick, because he has a lot of nice TikTok videos of him running routes. It ends up being a situation where we keep believing in him and the results just aren't there. Hopefully this is a turnaround. Hopefully, since week 4, like you said, hopefully it's a turnaround.
They're using him a lot more. They're definitely using him a lot more.
And obviously that passing offense for the first 4 weeks was just
terrible.
God awful. So hopefully he figures it out and they figured out how to use him properly because he obviously is a talented player.
What about the Seattle Seahawks? Obviously, this is a team that is surprising a lot of people in the best way with how they've been playing on both sides of the ball. Definitely in wild card and potentially even division playoff contention. I shouldn't even say potential. They're at the top of the division.
Sure.
They're at the top of the division now. So they've got an opportunity to win a lot more.
Dude, they make it a bye week.
Wow.
Geno Smith, best quarterback in the league. So unlike Jacoby Brissett, another career backup, Geno Smith is the best quarterback in the league every week. Not just every 4 weeks.
Right. So you buy the lottery ticket and you win the lottery every time.
Every time.
So you just keep getting rich. That's good. Do you have a move that you would like to see them make as now contenders in the NFC?
Well, they went out and got Uchenna Nwosu this offseason. He's been awesome for them. Had a great game on Sunday.
Yep.
Let's go get that second piece on the other side. Speaking of the Denver Broncos, Bradley Chubb.
Oh, that'd be a big splash if they went and got Bradley Chubb.
One of their issues right now is they can't get pressure, especially from their edge group, on 3rd down, which is when I would imagine you'd want to get pressure. I don't know if you know.
It's true.
Sounds about right.
Get 3rd down, key down.
So they can't get pressure by their edge group on 3rd down. 14 pressures by Seahawks edges on 3rd down. Chubb has 11 on 3rd down by himself. So I think now you're gonna have to pay a lot of money for him, a lot of assets for him, but they have the assets because they recently made a important trade with the Denver Broncos. So I think that they'll have the money and the assets to do it. Good player. Helps them pair him with Nwosu, who's been really good this year.
Yeah, Seahawks have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks because of the Broncos, 2 sides of that deal. They've got a 3rd, 4th, 2 5ths, a 6th, and their 7th is gone. Next year they have all of their regular picks, and as they do.
Yeah, so hopefully the Broncos can get some picks back and go after a young quarterback this offseason.
Interesting. Oh, a little shot there. I see what you're doing. Turn your voice down a little bit so people don't hear you, but the mic picked it up. Gerard Stevens said. Daron Payne.
What is this graphic behind us?
What is it? I didn't see. An ideal world? Who did this? Who in the production? Quinn. Who did this? Stone did this?
So, yeah. Well, I mean, it's open for interpretation. Like, what does your ideal world look like?
Right.
Probably, you ask 100 people, you get 100
Wait, is it animated?
Look at it flying.
Yeah, look at the pig.
It's a flying pig?
Is that not in your ideal world?
No, that it was It wasn't my ideal world, and now the pig makes it my ideal world, I think.
Good.
There's not enough.
This is incredible.
There's not enough. Not enough chicken wings in that for that to be my ideal world. But we're getting there. At least the rainbow and the unicorn. I guess a nice
Kill
touch.
that pig and you have some nice ribs.
Yes.
That's a solid substitute.
How are you gonna catch the pig? It's flies.
Yeah. How are you gonna catch it? Yeah. You gonna ride the unicorn? Can unicorns fly? No way. Right?
It doesn't have wings. I'm looking at it right now.
I don't know if it's got like a jetpack or something.
Well, Seth's
all
over
unicorns
here
have jetpacks.
Come with one. We've got, what were we saying, Quinn? I didn't want.
No, I was just saying Seth's over here talking about wars and stuff. I'll just take an anti-aircraft gun from his idea.
Oh, so yeah, sure.
That blow them out of the sky.
Yeah, a lot of anti-aircraft guns in the War of 1812.
Yep. Heard about that.
Gustavo said he wants Montez Sweat to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think that. I mean, obviously that would be fantastic for the Chiefs. I don't think Washington's looking to move on from Sweat unless I've totally missed something there. I think
he's too good of a player that you would. Because at this point, are you getting a first-round pick for a guy?
Probably. I don't know what his hype is at, but he was leading the NFL in pressure percentage. I think last year.
A great run defender too.
Right. So I don't think that's going to happen. But if you're a Chiefs fan, I'm sure that you absolutely like it. Hurricane Ditka 55. So that you would like Danny Dimes to get a wide receiver. We'll get there. We're talking about the Giants. Zone Read Network, your favorite account, Seth, said Panthers trade Dante Jackson. I wonder what they could get back for him. I don't know if that's breaking news or if that's like actually a suggestion there. I actually can't differentiate. DJ said Brandon Cooks to Dallas. Ooh,
we're getting there.
We're also going to get there. Interesting. Oh, Bonker said that would be Pegasus, Trev, the horses that can fly. So different. I was different here with my
with your mythological
characters. You said you want Bradley Chubb for the Seahawks. Yeah. I shot a little bit lower, maybe a little bit cheaper here. These are guys that you could probably get for a mid-round pick that might end up benefiting from the change of scenery. Look to Jacksonville. A lot of people have talked about Josh Allen being on the move in Jacksonville. I've never really thought that would be the case. Josh Allen's too good. But right behind him, you've got Arden Key, and then you've also got Caleb Chase on. Both of those guys, Arden Key's kind of bounced around a little bit. I think Arden Key is producing and playing a lot more than Chase on is. Chase on, former first-round pick, has not exactly...
You're falling into the first-round pick trap again.
Right, but I'm saying for these guys, though, Jerry Jeudy would cost you a pretty penny still to get him because of how well he's actually been playing. If you're the Seahawks, you could probably get Caleb Chase on for like a 5th or 6th round pick at this point, right? I mean, like you probably get him for almost nothing. Arden Key, probably maybe the same thing.
Probably the same. Even though he's been, like you said, he's been playing a lot better.
Yeah, depending on how valuable. I think he's just a better player,
but you're still not. Even Arden Key is not.
If you can get like a 5th round pick for him, maybe you get a little bit of juice in the pass rush room. So if I'm Seattle, I'm looking over to Jacksonville. What's the price tag for those two guys? Is it going to be earth-shattering like Bradley Chubb would? No, but perhaps it's just the little thing that gets him over the edge. And they've got Boye Mafe too, right? You got to think about that.
Chase needs a new scenery, new environment to figure out if he actually will ever be that player that got drafted in the first round.
He does, 100%. What about the New York Giants? What do you got for the Giants here?
Brandon Cooks.
To me,
it's a kind of obvious one. They can't create anything down the field. Daniel Jones only has five pass attempts beyond 25 yards this season, which is 37th most. I didn't even know 37 quarterbacks have thrown a football this year, and Daniel Jones is last on that list. So yeah, you can see there
5 pass attempts beyond 25 yards.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey has 1.
Exactly. So like they gotta figure out a way, and honestly, that's a testament to Mike Kafka, the OC, and Brian Dable, the head coach. They've been able to get by without really any, as you can see here, any explosive plays in the passing game. And we know Cooks is going to get down the field. You know he's going to make plays for you with the ball in his hands. So it seems like an ideal fit there, getting Brandon Cooks, which would make him probably the most traded player in NFL history. He's at 3 right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was told upstairs by our crack research team, aka Ben Lindsay.
Did you say crack research?
Yeah, our research team, who is on crack.
Oh, of course, right? Yes, of course.
That I think Eric Dickerson has been traded the most with like 4 or 5. I was told this half an hour ago. I've already forgot it, but
interesting stat.
But yeah, Cooks would be like tie the record for most trades by one player.
Oh, Caleb's on IR. No, is he? How long?
There's no difference because when he's on the field, he looks like he should be on IR.
But they obviously can't trade him. Headed to IR on October 10th.
So Arden Key.
I mean,
Arden
like,
Key,
yeah,
honestly, the thing with Arden Key that I really like is
injury.
he will give you 2 or 3 games where he looks like that guy.
Damn. Must miss a minimum of 4 games, and that was on October 10th, so they can't
Yeah, that's
trade
not
him.
happening. Yeah, Arden Key. No, I like Arden Key.
Yeah, but I like the chase on move a little bit more because it's a little higher potential. But maybe I'm saving me from me. Maybe the chat just saved me. Water saved me from me. And now I go get Arden Key, who's actually done something.
Who's actually done something, yeah.
For the Giants, I'm also going to stick at wide receiver. There is a disgruntled wide receiver already in New York who can just stay in the same stadium. Elijah Moore. My thought process has always been, up to this point, the Jets should instead just figure out a way to use Elijah Moore because he is a damn good football player.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Jets later, but that's really their best move that the Jets can make is figure out a way to get Elijah Moore involved.
And I definitely agree with you, but like, what do you have, 1 target, 0 catches again last week?
That's incredible.
They're not getting him the ball. And I know that his involvement into it now goes into this, but they asked him after the game, well, what's your chemistry like with Zach Wilson? Well, Zach doesn't throw me the ball. I don't know. Come on, man. Yeah. Like, what kind of an answer is that?
In my opinion,
what are we supposed to do with that? If Elijah Moore is just going to not want to be there, and I don't know if this is the case 100%, but when you say stuff like that in post game, it makes me feel like you still really don't want to be there. The Jets basically just told you we're not trading you. So if this is a situation where Elijah's not going to give you anything anyways, maybe find a trade partner for him. Giants maybe should pick up the phone because I think Elijah Moore would be great for what the Giants want to do in that passing game.
If I'm Elijah Moore, I'm just going into the other doorway when I get to the facility. I'm just going into when I get to MetLife. Now, I'm sure their practice facilities are not in the same place, but obviously they play at the same stadium. I'm just going into the Giants' door. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I play here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's me.
Like, I'm just going to walk into the other door, and then no one will know.
No one would know.
You go to the pro shop, get some merch,
yeah,
blue merch, no one will know. I think that's the way to do it. But I agree. I think that Elijah Moore helps him. If they're not going to get him the ball, if they're not going to use Elijah Moore, he's too good of a player.
Yeah, it's too good of a player. It's silly. Dugan says more to the Packers potentially. I think that obviously that's something that could be great. All right, so that was yours about the Jets, right? That was your point about the Jets. Just don't, or was it?
Well, I had Andre Dillard there because they're.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just put
Dillard he was on IR, but he's I believe designated to return.
Right.
So if they want to trade him, I think they can activate him and trade him.
Yeah, and I don't. Will this actually happen? Like,
who knows?
But like they need, they've had so many injuries in offensive line. He's not getting any run in Philly. I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's too good of an offensive line.
And like you said, 70.7 PFF grade in 2021. He played like 250 snaps, something like that. So like a player you can probably maybe do stuff with. Again, it's that same idea of change of scenery might help a player. So and they need offensive line help. So there you go.
No, that's not bad. I
think we both talked about this before the show, but like. They did what we thought what they needed to do, which is get a running back, and they did that already. So
yeah, the James Robinson trade I absolutely loved for them. Last team that we're going to talk about is the Dallas Cowboys. For me, it's Matt Ioannidis, the defensive tackle from Carolina. I don't think he's hurt unless somebody's going to call me out on that again with him being on IR. But look, Matt Ioannidis, I think, is somebody who you look at Carolina. Okay, you maybe don't want to trade your good young defensive pieces that are going to be around for the long haul, but Ioannidis was a player who was a guy they signed, who they like. I think he's a good player, but that was more of a push to just be the best team that you could be this year, more in the short term. That's all out the window. You don't got to worry about that anymore. Cowboys, against the run, 4.7 yards per attempt average, which is 11th most in the NFL, and over 1,000 yards already given up on the ground. That is 7th most. So this team could get more stout up front. We talk a lot about the Cowboys pass rush, and it's doing a lot of great things for that defense. That is the most important part. They're definitely hitting on it. Could get a little bit stronger in the running game, and I think a guy like Matt Ioannidis would definitely help.
For me, no, I agree. I mean, that run defense, I'd say it's probably, I haven't watched him too much, but like probably more the interior that has a problem. But Ioannidis is a good run defender, if I'm not mistaken.
Who?
Ioannidis.
Yes, yeah.
Really good run defender. Probably one of the more underrated players of the past 10 years, to be honest. He's been a really good player, and no one really talks about him. Okay, so for my Cowboys, I'm going Jerry Jeudy. We just talked about him.
Oh, sure. Oh, man, that'd be a big splash.
Yeah, I think it allows you to do some cool stuff just alignment-wise. CeeDee Lamb has kind of gone about 50-50 slot wide. Judy, also a guy you can play slot wise, so you can kind of do some cool stuff alignment wise. The Cowboys also just like don't, as you can see here, 3.9 yards after catch per reception, so it's not very good. Judy by himself at 7.1. So they need a guy. I think that's where they're missing probably, is a guy that can take a little nothing route and turn it into a big gainer. So that's why I'm going with Jerry Judy.
Oh, the Eagles did activate Andre Dillard. So he's good to go. All right, you can trade for him. You can totally trade for him. Jared pointed that out. Dillard played at the end of the game with the backups on Sunday. Oh.
Yeah, he's played 10 snaps, I think.
Trying to give people a little sneak peek. Maybe trade for him. I don't know if they're going to trade for him, but we'll see. All right, those are a handful of players that we pointed out. Bonkers, I'm looking at the chat now, some suggestions and some trades that you guys have come up with. Bonkers said Gesicki to the Vikings. Gesicki is a super hot name to get traded. I don't think he gets dealt. I don't think he gets traded.
I feel like he's still too good of a, like, I understand that they want to move him. They want to make him more of a run blocker this year because it fits in what they want to do schematically, and he's not that. I understand that. I just think he's still a good player as a receiver. So if you treat him as like a number 3 receiver type thing, I think he's still useful for the Dolphins.
Right. I don't think a deal gets done.
No, I don't think so.
Dugan said literally any offensive lineman of the Rams. Unfortunately, good offensive linemen don't really get traded. Maybe that's
Andre
Dillard location. Yeah, I know Dalton Reisner has been somebody that people have talked about as well as a potential guy to move because the Broncos have a little bit of a logjam on the interior, so that could be something that works out there. Elliot said Raiders trade for Sean Payton.
That's another guy who I don't want to see in any other colors but black and gold.
You better get used to that. Yeah. That's happening somewhere. Yeah. Coltrane says Claypool to the Packers would be a good move. Yeah. I think any wide receiver to the Packers would, unfortunately for them, be a good move. Drew says T.J. Hawkinson to the Bucs. Never thought about that, but I also don't think the Bucs are going to be buyers at all whatsoever. I think the Bucs believe that they have their team and they just got to figure it out at this point.
I just wish, we said it before. It would be nice if the NFL trade deadline was like this, like the way we're fantasizing about it right now. It's just like you wish that there would be 10. I'll take 10 trades.
Hey, there's a lot of time. There's time. It's only noon. We got 4 hours. GMs like to play this game of chicken with each other, where just like nobody makes a move until the very last second. So, all right, those are a handful of players that we could potentially see on the move, some fits that we like, some suggestions that we had for some teams that we believe could be buyers. We've gone a little long on this show, but let's take a look at some of the lines for this upcoming week, week 9 in the NFL. And Seth, when you look at the upcoming games here, is there a quick line that you think could earn you some easy money if there ever is such a thing in Vegas?
Yeah, I don't know if it's easy money, but Packers -3 against the Lions. It's gone down. I think it was 3.5.
That's PFF up, by the way. If you've never seen it.
I don't even know what PFF is, to be honest.
All right, well, what you're looking at right here, Seth. If you got an American cell phone, then you can go ahead and download it. It's got to be an Apple device, so you can go ahead and download the PFF app, search PFF Pro Football Focus, and you can see everything like the betting dashboard that we got right here, which is highlighting Seth correctly getting the value for the Packers covering 3 against the Lions.
They're good. Like, first of all, they generally don't lose to the Lions. And they lost. I was looking this up. They lost a meaningless Week 17 game last year, but they hadn't really lost in like 5 straight games before then. They're going to win eventually, and the Lions tend to be a good team to play against when you need a win. So that's Packers -3.
I like the Jags getting 1.5 at home against the Raiders. I believe it is at home. I believe I wrote that correctly. Yes, it's in Jacksonville. Raiders scored 0 points last week, man. I don't believe the Raiders should be favored against anybody. No. Like even the Jags. And the Jags have not been playing well. I will admit this is these are both teams that are reeling, but I have more confidence in the Jags playing at home in this game than I do the Raiders traveling across the country. Well, technically, I think that they played in New Orleans and then they were staying on this side of the country, so they didn't have to travel all the way back and forth. But still, a long way from home. Jacksonville is getting points. Give me the 1.5 for Jacksonville. So I'm going to shout them out there.
Amazing. You're so smart.
Wow, thank you. Do we have a final answer from the chat for you, Seth?
No.
Our question of the day. I have mine, and I do have a lot of confidence in it. If we can remind people what the question of the day is, it's related to Monday Night Football last night. Jacoby Brissett had a, 94.7 adjusted completion percentage rate. Who was the second highest this year? minimum 10 attempts.
I could have looked this up while we were talking. Like,
Yeah, but
incognito.
that's not for the love of the game. That's not for the love of the game.
Yeah, whatever. I'm sticking with PJ Walker against the Bucks. Whatever.
I'm pretty confident that it was Tua Tagovailoa last week, this past Sunday. Pretty sure. I think Tua had a 90. It was like a 93.5 adjusted completion percentage this past game.
Tua, he's on fire, man.
I think it is Tua. Can we get the answer here?
It is not Tua.
Oh.
It is another Hawaiian quarterback who I think went to the same high school.
Marcus
Right?
Is it Mariota?
Marcus Mariota, yeah.
What was his
Week 6 against San Fran, 93.3.
All right, I'm going to do the Mike Renner thing right now, and I'm going to look this up because I'm very.
Unless it's changed since like an hour ago.
Well, I haven't adjusted the grades yet, so
Yeah,
I haven't
Seth
adjusted the completion
Seth
percentage
hasn't
yet.
gone in there and personally.
This is why I'm
adjusted
here at the office.
all
For
of
people
the
that don't
grades.
know, like, yes, we're in the studio here at the PFF offices. There's a room of servers.
What does that say right there? You tell me. You read it.
93.9 adjusted completion percentage to Tagovailoa. Wow. you got
Okay,
it.
there you go. I flubbed that one.
Wow.
I don't know. So honestly, there are two different screens. One of them has no play turned on. One of them has no play turned off. So I'm sure that the one that you were looking at had the no play turned. Which are when we have a tab that we can turn on and off, which are no plays. Which obviously go for like if there was a penalty that negates whatever the play was, it kind of takes that away.
Yeah.
But with no plays off, it was Tua Tagovailoa.
So you're right.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
You've
You're kind
bested
of on a
me.
roll with these questions of the day. What is that, like 3 or 4?
Am I smart?
I am going to
Am I smart, guys?
read every stat tonight, and I will not
You're gonna read every
every
stat?
stat.
Every stat.
every stat.
Yeah.
And I will win the rest of the week.
Well,
Okay.
here's another little bit of how the sausage is made. Like when I come up with these, I try to like keep them related to like the games or like whatever is going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's no game tomorrow, so it could just be anything.
So you've got
So
to
you're
look
gonna have
up
to go through
every
a lot.
stat.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
I'm
what I'm
every
saying.
single stat.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have a
Your
server
homework
here.
is cut out for you.
I'm just gonna.
But ever.
I'm gonna
every
do
stat
the.
ever.
I'm gonna do the. You know, in Minority Report, you've seen the Minority Report with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
You know the precogs who like sit in the bath of water and like have premonitions. That's gonna be me tonight. Just trying to learn every single stat of football history.
All right. Well, Seth's gonna over the next 24 hours. Seth is going to learn every single stat in football history, and he's gonna be ready and locked and loaded and ready for it tomorrow. Do we have a chat champ for tomorrow?
We do. James Leesenring. I hope I'm saying that right.
I see James.
Shout out
James in the chat all the time.
Yeah, he is.
How do you win? How do you win?
You got to be active. Like sometimes,
Okay.
you know, like it's kind of a scale where like, oh, like if you get the question of the day right, or if you do well in trivia, or if you had good suggestions for like dogs of the week or something, or if you're just really active in the chat. If you're getting people going, if you're getting the conversations up.
I'm gonna be active in the chat while we're on the show tomorrow.
Okay, so you can win the chat champ.
Yeah.
So you're gonna learn every stat and you're
Yeah.
gonna be chat champ.
Yeah.
You really want this crown.
Yeah.
You know what? That's competition though. That's what we want to see here on the show. Big shout out to James, who is our chat champ for the day. James, you know what that means. It means that you got to be in the show tomorrow. You got to get ready. You got to get locked and loaded, and you got to beat Seth in the question of the day, since he's apparently going to bring all of the knowledge that is possible to learn in the game of football. Shout out to James. Shout out to everybody else who watched the show. Thank you guys so much. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Seth Galena. We're going to be back right here, same time, 11 a.m. tomorrow. See you guys then.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get it and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.